1.
What is up, guys? This is Papa Trades, aka Slicky Ricky, aka Galactic Investing, and what we're gonna do is just go over Facebook stock. I think Facebook stock has a huge potential coming into this week with earnings. Now, in saying that, earnings have been interesting in the past. So, if a lot of you guys have been trading for a while, we know that most stocks have been falling on earnings prior to this kind of slow sideways action we had from SPY for like a month or two in that May time frame. You know, that sell in May, stay away, sell in May. And things kind of came down to these base levels and kind of leveled themselves out. But what we're seeing from earnings is actually things are beating expectations very highly and actually making new all-time highs after earnings. Oh, shit. I'm dying. Fuck. I think Zuckerberg just fucking lizard skinned me. Jesus Christ. But we do have Facebook and the earnings this week. We can see the earnings marked on my little indicator here is the 28th July 21st. There's an estimated earning of 3.04 per share. So we can go over to Facebook. We see July 28th. And the reason I want to talk about Facebook is because we saw the Snapchat earnings. Okay, what did Snapchat do on earnings? Blew expectations out of the water. Granted, Snapchat is not Facebook, okay? And I think it's very hard for someone even 25 or under to understand why Facebook is so good. Now, what do I mean by that is I would say most people 25 and under absolutely fucking hate Facebook. I think that if you're over 25, there might be more uses for you. You'll have that sentiment of family, maybe. So it's not a lot of people that are even 25 and younger only use Facebook because of family. Their family's on there. But there's another thing that a lot of people use Facebook for, and I don't think people really understand. People use Facebook for Facebook Marketplace, which is actually being very, very big. It's actually growing very fast. And there's a few other things that people use Facebook for, and Facebook actually owns quite a lot of other assets that are all a part under the Facebook stock. So there is more to it, but we can see here that Snapchat blew expectations out of the water. Hi, Yago. And we can see it moved up 23% on the day. That was from an earnings. So if you are a part of the Galactic Investing stock community, you know that I played Facebook. We went ahead and called Facebook here. Slicky Ricky, Facebook. Facebook August 20th, 420 call, go small maybe. I just said that because it's at all-time highs and I wasn't too sure. And I was just buying it on the dip of the day with no momentum switch. But I had this sentiment in my head. It was a continuation play from Snapchat onto Facebook because they're relatively related stocks in the social media industry. So we went ahead and played that. I sold half of mine 0.70 to 1.30 and I sold the other half 0.70 to 1.50. So it was a good like $250, $300 play, something like that. So that was a cool $300. So if you want to join the community, we do have the link down below if you're interested, but that is completely up to you. I do think Facebook is going to continue here, though. Looking at the chart, we know that we are at all-time highs. We had a huge gap up. I would not invest in Facebook, particularly into shares right now. But if you wanted to do a little bit of a swing trade on it, I think we could see something really interesting. Now, I think there's two options for Facebook coming into the next few days. We either run up insanely prior to earnings and then sell off horribly after, or absolutely beats expectations and then we completely make all new all-time highs. Inevitably, I think the stock will come down to 350 level eventually again or something to come retest that area. And there is this big gap to fill now on the daily because of that huge move overnight because of what Snapchat did. So we're going to go into some technicals on the stock as well here. This is a tip ranks. I actually really like this site. I came across it. I think it's very, very interesting. So you can look up just about every ticker on here. Not sponsored or anything. I wish. It'd be fucking nice. But you can see this is the overall sentiment of Facebook. Strong buy, bullish. Hedge fund activity has increased. All right. So we're seeing the insider activity is not really applicable. And that's because the only person that's really insider trading this is Zuckerberg. So we'll get into that too. Sentiment is very positive. It's been bullish. The momentum is good. The return on equity is about 28.24%, which is actually a little bit low compared to some other FANG stocks, but it's still really good. So it's not like it's bad or anything. all I can say is that Facebook was extremely undervalued at one point in time at the beginning of this year. We can see it was trading around this 257. Let's see, the lowest was 245. So we're up over $100 on the stock price. It was actually quite undervalued because of all of the things that were going on with Facebook, with regulations, with politics. People saw it very bearish, but then inevitably people were still using it, so it didn't matter. So we can go ahead and see that this is kind of the information that we're seeing now. We can see the risks. You can see exactly how everything's being broken down. Investors. So this is some of the investors that are into this. You can see if they increase their position, close their position, portfolio allocation. You can just see all this information on this website. I think it's so interesting to see this. Bloggers are bullish on it. You can see that people are talking about it, talking about the stock market, are completely bullish on it. Here's the insider trading. So you can see the only insiders selling this stock are Zuckerberg, and he's just automatically selling, it looks like. So you can see every day, basically, he's selling 26 million-ish of the stock. It's really nothing to... I wouldn't worry about something like that. I think it's completely... It's just him trying to get money out of the stock or out of his company, and switch it up into something else. So I want to go over here. This is the most important part, is the analyst ratings on the stock. So we can see here that the upside is highest price target is about 480. Average price target is about 394.52 with the lowest at 275. That being said, that we can see that we have 28 buys, hold is 4, and 1 sell on this stock right now. The average price target is 394, like we said, and we can see that we're trading around 369. So we do have a pretty decent upside. We can see a lot of price targets of 420. We can see a lot of these price targets are around the $400 area. Now, if this does run, if I'm going to be completely honest with you, I would absolutely sell everything by the time I got to like 390. Just because it's like this psychological thing that you think, oh, it's going to get to 400, maybe 420 for the memes, whatever it might be. I would take my profits much earlier just in case. There's always that preemptive sell-off. You could see it with Dogecoin. People thought it would get to $1, but I mean, I didn't think it was going to get to $1. If you follow me, I told you guys to sell at 75 cents. That was literally the peak. Anyway, we're going to talk about that later. We could see here that we could see Facebook could reach that potential of the average analyst estimate here of 394, which is going to give us quite a reasonable upside here to that level. So we got that 394 level right here. So we do have a good amount of room on the upside. About 6.51% average move from the analysts to the upside. It's pretty good. My indicators are showing some really good information. We had I could go over my indicators. Basically, this little green hill, it's really tight. That means there's good momentum. We're seeing a little bit of a squeeze here. It's just showing some strength coming into this because of that Snapchat earnings. Now, if Facebook misses, now I don't play earnings. I play the continuation of earnings, so I wait till earnings to happen, and then I play the continuation. If Facebook misses, you have so much money that can be made, by the way. Like, the absolute potential of printing money off some puts would be just amazing. And that's because it's moved so much. You have this gap on the daily that it needs to probably come back and retrace at some point in time. Gaps usually just come back and retrace to test that level. It's just kind of how it is. I don't really know why. It's just psychological, I'm pretty sure, but it's just a stock market Wall Street thing. But that is usually what happens. And you can see here, for example, there was a gap up here and then a retracement back down to fill that gap. It's just how it is. So that's kind of my analysis. Coming into this, my analysis is they will beat. I don't think they're going to beat by much. I do think the stock is still undervalued, but will it matter? I think it completely depends on the market sentiment as a whole, on whether this continues to make all new highs. I was trying to figure out how they would really beat heavily, and I couldn't really think of a way, but I do think they'll beat. I don't think it'll be crazy. I don't want to play the earnings. I do think there is upside to it. I might play Monday and Tuesday before earnings just to see if I can catch a little bit of a run up on it. But other than that, I'm not personally going to be playing it. I do think it could hit as high as 420, and I do think that 400 is going to be very difficult for it to break. I could see a huge retracement back, but at the end of the day, I do think it is going to beat. So that is kind of my expectations on Facebook. With a high price target of 420, a low of about 400, and I think that it'll come down to retrace on the daily here to around $350. No matter what happens, even if it beats expectations wildly over the next month or two, it's going to come back down and retrace this level. I think that's just people taking profits. I don't think it's anything to worry about. I personally don't own any Facebook stock in my long term. I don't really like it. I own some Snapchat. And that's just because of who I am and how I understand the social media market and what I feel like has the most potential upside right now. But yeah, that's it for me. Thank you guys. I hope that this video just was kind of informative and an idea on Facebook.